Hi, this is Rachelle with Journal Life's Journey, and I am going to be working on the fall journal again. In this video, I will be making the journal topper, and I'm kind of winging this. I have some ideas of what I want to use, but it kind of comes together organically as I go. So I have this piece of upcycled packaging from a mailer, and I'm turning it into a frame. So I've measured about 3/4 of an inch on all four sides, and I'm using my blade and ruler to trim out the inside of the frame. So this was the original mailer, and this is my frame. And I'm going to cover the frame with some of the fabric that I use for the journal cover. Now this fabric isn't quite wide enough, but I didn't want to cut into another piece of the fabric. I kind of wanted to use the scraps, so I'm going to have to make this work. And for the frame, the stripes will be going up and down, where on the cover, the stripes are horizontal. So I'm going to use Fabri-Tac to glue the frame to the fabric. And I'm cutting off the finished edge, which doesn't leave me a lot to fold over the frame, but I'm just going to make it work. This is a junk journal, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm just using my box cutter to cut a slit in the center of the fabric so that I can open that up and wrap the frame borders. And I'm just cutting off some of the excess fabric once I see how much I need to wrap. And again, using the Fabri-Tac to glue the fabric pieces to the frame to wrap them around as best as I can. And I'm using some clips to hold the fabric in place. So again, my fabric piece isn't quite big enough, but I'm doing my best to make this work to cover the chipboard packaging. So now that I have everything wrapped and secured with clips, I'm going to let this dry and come back and continue working on it. So I've laid out a few pieces that I want to use as part of the frame. Now I'm just going through my book corners to see which ones I would like to add to the frame. I think adding some book corners will give it a bit of a more finished look, even though the edges around the frame have quite a few imperfections. I think the stitching helped, and then adding the book corners is also going to help it. The small ones are too small, and I like the look of the larger ones, so I'm going to pull out 4 of those that I can use later on. And usually I don't work in order, so I was already thinking ahead, okay, what book corners do I want? Let me pull those out, even though I haven't actually put the frame pieces together. All right, so I've decided on my corners. And now I'm going to trim a piece that I can use for the backing of the frame, because I also want this frame to act as a pocket on the cover. And I also want this piece, this cardstock piece, to act as a base for the elements that I will add inside of the frame. So it's kind of going to be like a shadow box, just not really 3D, if that makes any sense. So I trimmed down the cardstock, and what I'll do is the pieces that I have laid out on the cover of the fall journal, I will add those to the cardstock and then place the frame on top. So I've marked on the cardstock the live space where I can place my collage pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and start gluing those in place. So I had that leftover piece of fabric as my base, and a lot of this you won't actually see. You just see little hints, bits and pieces of it, but it's just the layering effect that I like, so I'm going with it. And then here is another piece of scrap fabric that has been hanging out along with the fall journal as I've been working on it, that I knew I wanted to use on the cover. And I'm using Fabri-Tac again because I'm working with fabric. And in this instance, I don't have to worry too much about the Fabri-Tac seeping through. So this is one of the dolls that I shared previously where I put the stickles on the flowers in her hair. She is going to be my main focal point on the cover, but I'm still adding some layering pieces. This is a piece from Your Creative Studio. I'm just inking that up and I'm going to layer that. This is a scrap piece of construction paper that I had from a Halloween project that I want to use as well. I inked that as well. Even though the piece from Your Creative Studio is like a washi piece, I still added glue to make sure that it stays in place. Then I have this other scrap from some Halloween digital paper that I thought would work well, and I'm going to ink that up and add that as well. So this was all about the layering. I wanted it to have a rich, full look. So I'm going to ink around the edges of the doll. Wanted to brighten this up a little bit, add a little bit of the doily. So I'm just going to glue that in place. If everything starts blending in and you want to brighten things up, add something with some white or very light color, and that will help pull it away from the background. So here I'm adding my art glitter glue and Fabri-Tac because it's on fabric and paper, just to make sure. So everything is glued down. This is the base of the frame, or my image that's going to show through the frame. And so I also wanted to put the word journal. I'm using this gadget from Dollar Tree to press the, oh my gosh, what is this called? I'll put it on the screen because I'm sure I'll remember it as soon as I stop recording this. But anyway, I'm using it to press out the word that I want to use. And I'm not using the tape. I'm using a piece of cardstock to do it. And it doesn't give the best impression, but I think it works fine for what I needed it to be. So I'm using the ink to highlight the letters. So I use the gold rub to rub it on to help maybe get the letters to stand out a little bit more. I'm going back in with the ink. It's just not working out very well. I think because I use cardstock as I'm rubbing and adding things to it, you just can't really see it. So here I'm coming in to try to darken things up with a Tombow marker. And going around the letters, hoping to make those pop out from the background. And here I'm adding more of the wax, trying to get those letters to stand out a little bit more. And in person, you can see them. And you can see them a little in the video as well. I decided to get a piece of black cardstock to frame the word to help that stand out even more. It also kind of goes with the dark stripes in the fabric that I used. So I'm just roughing up the edges of the cardstock. And placing the word on top. I think that helps it a little bit. I'm using a gold metallic color pencil to go around the edges to give it more of a gold look and not just be a flat black border around the word. So here I am measuring out the faux acetate that I'll be using to put the window in the frame. This is just a laminate pouch that I ran through the laminator without anything in it. That is how I create my faux acetate. I don't really buy acetate unless it's Duralar, and I use the Duralar because it's heat resistant. But that's fairly expensive. So since I already have laminate pouches, I just use those to make my own acetate. It's not a perfect solution, but it works. So I trimmed it down to the size that I needed, and I'm going to go ahead and attach it to the frame. I'm using some red line tape to do that. So this is the really sticky double-sided tape. And I'm burnishing that down with my bone folder. And putting it in place. So I'm just going to go ahead and add these last few bits and pieces, the lace and the journal plaque, to the backing piece. And then I have a piece of crochet lace that I'm going to use behind the journal word. This bit was all about layering, layering, layering. I'm using Fabri-Tac to add that. And then finally adding the journal word to the piece. I had this piece of lace that's just been hanging around and I really want to use it, so I'm just going to go ahead and add that as well. And finally, I'm going to add the frame to the base. So I'm adding my glue around the edges on the base. And then placing the frame on top and lining everything up. Putting my clips on to make sure it holds it in place nice and tight. And this is what it looks like. Of course, all the clips are on it, but this will be attached to the cover. It will be a pocket. I don't know if I'm going to have it open on the top or on the side, but I think my topper turned out great. Let me know what you think in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you enjoy videos like this, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching, and I'll holler at y'all next time. Bye.